Hi, Psychic Frank here. Welcome. Yeah, Fresh Frank. Psychic Frank. Haven't been here in almost a month. Yeah, because Bayvac and SF Commons were on a convention in LA, I believe, and so I'm glad. It's nice to be missed. But there was a lot of airings, and I think they were useful. There's some good stuff there. Actually, I was just waiting for the clock in front of me to come to 5 o'clock, and then I was gonna press this. So those of you who may be watching for the first time, I'm Psychic Frank. I'm a transformational. I do work with people who are intensely going through or want to transform or going through transformations, whether it's sick, health or whatever issues. Um, Job, big changes. I could help you. And most psychics have challenges with their time frames, and I was taught a long time ago to use excuse me numerology and astrology. So I'm adept at them, but I'm not an astrologer. I know enough to do my healings and how to interpret charts, but Pam Gregory is a good astrologer. So is Kathy Rose, and actually in the every 2 months it comes out. The April, August, September 2019 issue of the Mountain Astrologer just got it in the mail the other day, and speak of what's her name, Kathy Rose wrote wrote an article. I just mentioned Kathy Rose, and I guess I thumbed through it, but I haven't really read it yet. But I was just looking at Donald Trump's birth chart. Uh, I was just laughing because I was just telling the guys that were setting me up here. It really takes a village. SF Commons, God bless FF Commons, San Francisco Commons here. We got the best people that are doing the best they can. So I was looking at Donald Trump's chart, and I thought, how does AOC, Alexandra Ocasio Cortez's, I love her. I love her so much. She's a daughter I wish I had. I have no children. But that's another story. And I was looking at the sun, and Libra falls on his Jupiter, so she's actually a gift for him, for his higher self. And uh, but that's not going to happen. I don't think. I should leave my editorials out of this. But then all of a sudden it hit me like a flash. Was her south node is 22 Leo, retrograde, and those that's karmic for me. That's past life. It's the only retrograde thing she has in her entire chart. That tells me she doesn't incarnate a lot. She comes in when paradigms are changing. She's a very old soul. We'll have to do her numerology in a minute there. Uh, uh, I should be more prepared then, but okay. But I saw that her. So the south node is the dharma, the karma. The north node is the dharma. The Dharma is, and here's Pima Children's book. It's called Start Where You Are. I have to return these to the library. I've renewed them to the max. I'll have to break down and buy a copy of this, but to own. And she says Dharma is a good instruction on how to stop cheating yourself, how to stop robbing yourself, how to find out who you really are, not in the limited sense of quote unquote I need and I'm going to get, quote unquote, but through developing a wakefulness as your habit, your way of perceiving everything. We talk about enlightenment as if it's a big accomplishment. Basically, it has to do with relaxing and finding out what you really have. And enlightened what you already have. Before enlightenment, chop wood, carry water. After enlightenment, chop wood, carry water. I tell you, my senses are getting. I just had a transit last year of planet Uranus to my moon, and my my senses are like, talk about higher sensory perception. Let's. I found a book at the library yard sale they have here in San Francisco every Wednesday, weather permitting, and no construction going on, no big events. I really love it. It's like Christmas every Wednesday because you get anything you want. Thick, big, beautiful art books for $1. And I'm a native New Yorker, so I always I think New Yorkers just like a sale, you know. And I found this book. It's called Breakthrough to Creativity. I left the jacket, the dust jacket, at home because it's so fragile. I put it actually in a folder. And it's a picture of this woman, Shafica, and her last name is Karagula, Karagulla, Karagula, MD. So in the 50s, the late 50s, the sexually repressed, uh, everything repressed, post-war baby boomers, with which I'm one of them, hitting my 71st year coming up in a few months. Wow, time flies when you're having fun. Well, one thing about the Trump takeover, Trumpism, every day is a year. So I feel like I'm living a lot longer. And no, I'm glad paradigm changes. Over the next 5 years, I'll explain. I'll explain about what's going on with Saturn and Pluto, and until next year, the South Node in Capricorn, and but Pam Gregory explains it all a lot better than I could, and and she talks about Saturn is the power that used to be in the old way we used power. The patriarchy, you know, the male everything, you know, the 24 degrees Capricorn. Everything's 24 Capricorn. Whatever 24 Capricorn is, it Cancer, Libra, Aries. Those are the cardinal signs because that's where all the action is for the next 6 months, and. And Pluto is saying no, this doesn't work. This is, you know, it's totally changing. It's sort of like the tree. Pam Gregory says something beautiful about how Pluto works. It's sort of like the trees are dead now, and their mulch, what they turn into, is food for the new trees coming up. So that we're in the deconstruction phase now. Everything's being deconstructed, and it ain't pretty, but it's a beautiful process. There's joy in it. There's joy in it for me. Should be for everyone. And now, then it's exciting, yeah, because you have to have a schooled imagination. Don't let your mind go into that dark place. So anyway, so this is all around. She was doing work. She was all set to get her medical degrees and get into science and sell her soul to science, like every scientist in the world. Gray was in Tyson, you know, the astrological science guy, even science guy Neil. You know, they're all, you know, it's all very limited, very, you know, like Sheldrake lists all of them. The dilemma we're in, when you assume, you make an ass out of you and me, and all science has done up to now is worked on assumptions. Uh, Everything about going into outer space was just math, you know, but there are assumptions on everything. It's making an ass out of all of us. But there's a lot of us now waking up. Dr. Larry Dossey and everything. But this was published in '67, so she did all of this work in I guess the late '50s, and so she was all in this the 20th century. So she wrote this back there in way back. When I was coming up, when I was a teenager, in this the 20th century, we maybe experienced a major breakthrough in human consciousness. The breakthroughs in science and technology have so completely engaged our attention that we have scarcely looked at the initiator of these fantastic achievements in our time. We must ask ourselves what is happening to man himself as a living, evolving life form. Our brains are evolving. I'll explain. As a and I forget this word, Anatomists, and anonymous, whatever, suggests that the brain of man has areas which may not as yet be in function. Well, people like me have them in function. And it wasn't the acid I took way back then, or the mushrooms or anything. Who knows? I left my body, and now I can't do psychedelics. One hit of grass, or hash, and I'm there. My life is psychedelic. As I said, my senses now. Most people my age, I guess, are going deaf. I don't want to go deaf, but boy, I could hear things. It's everything's. I have a lot of Capricorn at the top of my chart, and I guess everything happens late for me. That Taurus moon, North Node in the 12th house. People with North Node in the 12th house, their life happens a lot later. But I'm always going to have like the 57-year-old time grit. 57 going on 11. God willing. Okay, so science, technology. Then she goes. Human beings are under great pressure in our present society. Those of us in the field of psychiatry and medicine, remember she wrote this in the late 50s, are very aware of this. At one end of the human spectrum are those who find the pressures too great, and those who have not yet been able to make adequate adjustments to their environment. Donald Trump, for instance, I just threw that in, of course. My observations of my patients among the neurotic and the insane have made me appreciate the adaptability of the vast majority who constitute the sane members of society. Perhaps my experience with these insane have helped me to be a better judge of a third group of people emerging in human society, whom I have come to refer to as the super sane. The super sane! Exclamation point. This third group of individuals appears to be making an adjustment to a world of an energy pattern with certain interesting new adaptations. My discovery of this group and my 8 years of research among them in the adventure is about this book. And it's all about higher sensory perception and the cerebral cortex of man. But she was very taken with Edgar Cayce. He had passed on several years before she found out about him. But people who worked for him and knew him very closely helped her, interviewed her. And then when she went on to, work with different forms of people's gifts, like psychometry, where people can pick up something and get all these vibrations from them, and there's all different ways. I remember years ago reading about the clackers. That was way, way back in American history, and these were like beyond Quakers, and they would sit and clack these stones and get themselves into a trance, and then I guess give readings there. So anyway, but there's many things going on. Oh yes, we have this is eclipse month. Oh, yes, right. Get into that. We're in eclipse month right now. Well, we had the solar eclipse. Right now it's the 18th. So a few days ago, we had the lunar eclipse, full moon 24 Capricorn. Now we had a new solar eclipse, the very beginning, the 2nd of this month, Tuesday, the 2nd of July 2019. And then we just had another eclipse, but this was a lunar eclipse. This was make a decision, and now we get a chance to really reinforce that decision, because we can broadcast whatever it is you want new in your life on this Leo new moon on the very last day here in California, Pacific Standard Time, 8:12 p.m., 8 degrees Leo. And Mercury goes direct, like within a few minutes, within a half hour. And that's when Mercury goes direct 4 degrees Leo. So what that means, it's I wrote it down here to get it straight. Um, oh yeah, it's all about big heart energy. Leo is the heart. It's playful energy. It's energy of love, and then Venus too will be in Leo. 4 degrees Leo. So we got Venus 4 degrees Leo coming up on the very last day of July. The Sun, Mars energizes. Uh, you want you Mercury wants to like really beam it out to Mars wants to like whatever's in your heart, give it out to the world, you know? Leo's all bigger than life. It's very dramatic. It's all about the heart. Leos make themselves indispensable, and then they complain about being put upon. I love Leos, you know. Who doesn't? You know, Leos are fun. Fun people. And lions like to roar, but they much rather purr. You know, so as I said, everything's got a shadow, and as we could see with all the Leo rising people in this administration of Trumpistan, uh, that the shadow of Leo is me, all for one, and I'm the one. You know, and yeah, this is sad. Well, you know, I want to read something by Pema, excuse me. I have a friend who studied Tibetan, can speak it fluently. He's a white guy, and he, excuse me, and he said it's Pema, Frank. You know, he's my go-to guy. He no longer lives in the Bay Area. He's down in Southern California. Okay, and Pema says, when you open yourself to the continually changing, impermanent, dynamic nature of your own being and of reality, you increase your capacity to love and to capacity to love and care about other people, and your capacity to not be afraid. Thomas More has a book, not Thomas More, Kerry Walters, Practicing Presence. He did a book on Saint Oscar Romero, who just in the 90s, late mid 90s, was canonized. He's a contemporary saint from El Salvador, San Salvador. He has quote. This is one of the quotes from Oscar Romero, Saint Oscar Romero. Carry on, always seeking truth, justice, peace, and freedom. Christ will give us strength so that we won't lose heart along the way. Yeah, he was assassinated in the late 80s and then finally canonized. He was a martyr, and he was not afraid to speak his truth. And his best friend, around 5 years before, was saying, I don't know how they, from what I hear from my guides, there's more saints in heaven than there are, than you could, you know, it's countless from what I get. You know, it's like it should be every human being on who achieves a human body. That's where you should achieve to. But sainthood, as I said, has a bad rap. Like Thomas More and not Thomas More. Well, Thomas More is good, the one that wrote Care of the Soul. He spent, I don't know, 18 years as a Jesuit. Kerry Walters talks about how it's not the way it's portrayed. It's not a desirable. People don't say, "Oh yeah, I want to go for sainthood." No, I want the money. You know, if I can't eat it, smoke it, sleep with it, or have sex with it, what good is it? You know, it's anyway. So she says, care about other people, your capacity to not be afraid. See, so when you're true to your soul has a home with Christ, you're a universal being, you're a galactic being, your home, you know, we're just passing through. No one's really, we're all aliens here, you know, we're all from a distant, you know, we're stardust, we're golden, we're gifted this, whatever shape your body's in, it's exactly what the vehicle you need to get you through Earth School. And then when you graduate, if you've done it right, go for the mystic thing, you know. Don't sell out along the way. You know, something happened along the way. You know, I was listening to Carole King's song, James Taylor, and then the Drifters did "Up on the Roof," And I started listening to that on YouTube. I don't know why I started humming it, and then I realized I climb way up to the top of the stairs. That's the chakras, and there my cares just melt right into space. It's a beautiful song. And back in New York City in the '60s, you couldn't breathe the air. Rivers in Cleveland were on fire. Across the Hudson there. It was pollution was terrible. I'd have to go take another shirt. If I wore a white shirt, it would be black, brown by the end of the afternoon. Oh God, everything there was dark and dirty. It really was terrible. I couldn't wait to get out of there, but I was stuck there because of the draft board. But then in '72, I got a letter saying that I was free, and I wasn't going to be drafted, and I just I asked my boss to fire me so I could go to San Francisco and collect unemployment. And that's the rest is history. That's all she wrote. I look back at, no regrets there. Okay, so you're able to keep your eyes up. Okay. And you notice when you get caught up in prejudice. Most people think they're thinking when all they're doing is rearranging their prejudices. Bias and aggression. You develop an enthusiasm for no longer watering those negative seeds. So many people are banging that drum of negativity. I learned a big lesson in my 7 months, which was last month. And I was born, my day and month vibrates to 7. And I did a show recently saying that I discovered through a lot of research that 7 doesn't have to be as hard as I think it should be, and that from now on I don't know what I was on that day, but I remember vividly saying that from now on I'll enjoy my 7s a lot more because I read something where saying just relax and enjoy it. Well, of course, it's what can you do? I mean, things just really beyond any human control happened to me in my 7. It happened for me, but it was talk about going in the cave. But then again, wisdom comes through emotional pain. I mean, all this dark stuff started coming up. All these revelations, and when you get revelations, of course it's that anger, and it all goes through all kinds of things, and so now that I'm a few weeks away from my 7 vibration, my guides told me when I was in my non-local space that no, Frank, we love you. This is why you're given this. We're not here to all pleasure is not what you should go for. That would be a waste of life, living just for pleasure. We have to understand when bad things happen, they're there to teach us that. We still haven't gotten the 9/11 lesson about changing Wall Street. Well, it's going to happen. I can't think for a second that Donald Trump is not going. It's not going to happy ending. No, the sweet song can't last on a broken radio. The man's damaged. I'm not saying anything bad about him to make myself look better, but I was watching a Steve McQueen movie the other day while I was working on my computer, and it was The Blob from circa 1955, 56. It was one of Steve McQueen's first movies. I believe it was his very first movie. He was really, really young. And it's The Blob, it takes over and it won't stop, And I said, that's Donald Trump, The Blob, Well, dehumanizing. I don't want to dehumanize anybody. There's a spark in there somewhere. And then I was watching the people. I have friends in San Salvador I haven't seen since the 70s when I was living in Guatemala. But these people took me in. I met them in Guatemala. They were friends of friends, and they all, English-speaking people in a foreign country, French, Belgium, Spain, Madrid, and I knew these wonderful people from Costa Rica, San Salvador rather, and then when I saw on TV, I looked up, and the men in the cage when Pence, and they looked like these friends of mine that I hadn't seen it, and I had to change the channel. I literally got, I wasn't ready for it, and my stomach literally turned, and I thought to myself the next day, I couldn't get it out of my head, my reaction to that, and I remembered, you see these documentaries of the Nazis, and how could these human beings carry out the orders of the Fuhrer? And because the human body, the human mind, it can get hijacked. You can make people do like these ice people. They I don't know. I'm still pondering it all there, but knowledge is just knowledge unless you experience it, and we're being blessed now to experience, at least here in San Francisco. And I don't leave the city. I love my San Francisco. Oh God, I love it so much. I literally kiss the ground. I love this city. I can't even talk about it. So what I suggest to do on this new moon is I was thinking of Joel Grey in Cabaret, where he does that beautiful monologue and he ends, why can't we just live and let live? That's a beautiful slogan. Why can't we all just live and let live? Why do we have to be so obtuse? Like this Mueller, why is he being obtuse? He knows this. I don't understand it. Maybe he is just obtuse. I don't know. Maybe he's old. I was listening that Donald Trump's best friend, young Kim there, Kim Un, years when Trump just got elected, he called him a dotard. Or this, and I have a stack of dictionaries, and there's several different pronunciations of it. It's Dotard, and it's a foolish old senile person, a dotard, or one is dotard and dotard. I looked up several, and it's pretty much a variation of that. Or maybe I'm saying it wrong, but look it up, But I said, so he had to have a good education, because I didn't know what that word was until I heard a news report that they said he was tape of him saying that he referred to Donald Trump as a dotard, which is a senile old fool making horror. And then they became now, I guess, best friends. It's like Charlie Manson, Charlie Manson was a saint compared to what this guy's done. I'm just laughing because I guess it's the way I handle with. No, it's nothing funny about it. It's just my reaction because it's like whistling through the graveyard. You think of the atrocities, how. I'm just not going to go into them all because I won't want. But what I'm saying, we got this person occupying. Well, now it's all. Oh yeah, see, so Jupiter goes direct on the 11th of. Jupiter's been retrograde in Sagittarius. Now on the 11th of August, Jupiter goes direct. 14 degrees Sag. So any situations you've had where it involve legal matters, and they've been one frustrating delay after another, you could see an end to that. Personally and collectively, all these subpoenas, all these documents that are in the courts, and they're all going to come out. And then it's going to be really until all these four heavy outer planets go direct. It'll be September, August. So I believe we go from spring to spring. Not many souls understand the. There are many old souls on the planet, and I just don't buy January 1st as the new year. So what happens between January 1st and the spring solstice is this overlapping, So I'll do another show on that. So my mind is sometimes like a sieve. And people, like things go right through it, like when you're straining macaroni, a sieve. And finally, I got it. Listen to people, all you aspiring young people who know you're meant to do alternative healings. And that's the way, alternative medicine, all kinds of alternative gifts and healings, whatever it is, experiment, and if you're drawn to that. But I'll tell you, one big thing is listen to people. And when they tell you something, trust me, they're telling you the truth. I've been doing it now. I'm going on. Let me see. I started doing this in '84. It's when I became aware, and actually it was '82. I started, but then I figured it out by '84. It was like I thought I was a walk-in for a long time, because Ruth Montgomery did a book on Born to Heal, in which she talked about healers as terrestrials. Aliens Among Us was one of her books, and she talked about like Anwar Sadat, they say it was a walk-in. These were people who really weren't happy on this planet, and they're almost suicidal, as I was, killing myself with drugs and liquor, and and then what happens is an extraterrestrial will make an agreement with them, and they'll swap souls. They'll and the walk-in will take their body, and then they go to their life, and their kids don't disown them. They're not they're highly, they're the guardians. I believe many of these extraterrestrials are walking among us, and they're what keeping the hands off of the buttons that are going to destroy us. But read Ruth Montgomery. She's no longer with us on the physical plane, but I love her. So I thought I was a walk-in because I changed so much. None of my old friends wanted to be around me anymore. I cleaned up my act. I went to a $20,000 rehab, and I really learned to work on my character defects. And I think if you work on your character defects, you don't have to be a recovering a substance abuser. This book by Pema Chodron, she has this, this is there's no end to character defects. Once you get the basics ones under control, like hate, jealousy, anger, well, that's a big one. Hot-temperedness, but this one is, abandoned. This one I read this morning. I opened it up and it just hit me like, and then I've been chewing on it. I read this a few times over the years, but I'll share it with you. Abandon any hope of fruition. There's so many paradoxes in life, and the sooner you get to appreciate them, the better. It says the key instruction is to stay in the present. Don't get caught up in hopes of what you'll achieve or how good your situation will be someday in the future. What you do right now is what matters. Like hope. Without hope, Bernie Siegel said, there's no reason to live. I mean, we all have our hopes and dreams, but to think we're going to get anything, like Gandhi said, the joy is the satisfaction lies in the effort, not the attainment. Full effort is full victory. If you give it everything you have. Helen Keller said, life is a succession of lessons which must be lived to be understood. What we're living through now we understand why the Nazis, why the members of the Third Reich were able to just see these people as not human beings, and that's why these atrocities, these hideous atrocities, are happening right as I speak now. Mothers, being having their infants grabbed from their arms. Because it's that Stephen, what's his name, Sessions guy there, the member of Trump's, the 28-year-old, the 29-year-old, his name escapes me, but it's the Sessions policy is make an example of them, make them suffer, so they'll make it. Oh my God, have mercy on those twisted soul. Gandhi said everything we do is futile, but we must do it anyway. There's like a snowball chance in hell that I used to think that the White House would ever be in rainbow flag, but Michelle and President Obama got that. And I'm living now where women can marry each other. Cannabis is still federally legal, but it's the ultimate alternative medicine. And yet there's industries that are thriving now in Ohio and all over. The additive industry. the additives industry. And then so this whole thing about the paradox, I don't think it means, it makes you think about things. Like I thought about this all morning, and then on the way here, I was still thinking about it. And I thought about, it does rob you of the present. Like this is as good as it gets. It's never going to be any better than right now. I think when you get money, it just makes you exaggerate whatever you really are. So work on being your true. Abandon poisonous foods. You could use these slogans to build up your ego. For instance, if you refrain from talking about others, oh yeah, this hits me right where I live. Defects and or malignments. Them maligning them, but they do. I'm not maligning Trump here. Excuse me. I'm not maligning Trump. I'm just telling you what's going on. We got to get this guy. I feel like any day he's been giving a speech and there'll be this cane like in Vaudeville will come out from stage left and just rank him right off the stage. And I don't think it's going to be pretty. I think what he's doing now is ginning up his obvious gonna. He knows he's gonna lose. He knows he loses, and of course the media, they got guest houses to build and stuff. So they're. I'm looking for my tarot cards, but what he's not going to go easy. Even his friend, the well-dressed skin tag there, Nazi Steve Bannon. I couldn't think of his name until I thought. I do not see. You notice that? I do not see Sellers. What's his name? Sessions. Beauregard. I do not see Jefferson Beauregard Sessions. And he's the one responsible for all these infants being... and I understand he's a reincarnated Nazi. And the short Nazis had it rough. Because the ideal perfect genes and everything, they were tall, blonde, and so I think he's got a chip on a bug up his butt from being a short Nazi. That's my little take on that. Yeah, people want a cure, provided they can have it without pain, are like those who favor progress, provided they can have it without change. Yeah, people don't want a cure so much that's painful. They just want relief. I learned that the hard way. So listen to what people say so many times, and it finally just clicked in because I've been doing readings forever, and it finally, as I said, my mind's like a sieve, and it dawned on me like I'm getting all these flashes of enlightenment where you sit with people and they'll tell you first thing out of their mouth is, I'm bipolar and I have it. Then the letters of the alphabet. PDSC, and from now on, when I hear that, I'll say to them, well, do you want to keep that condition? Like the other day, a gentleman said to me, what about my asthma, Frank? I go, well, it's going to be yours for a long time. Stop owning it. And he's like, what? But of course, if you watch TV, it's impossible to avoid the ads, Einstein said, great spirits have always encountered opposition from mediocre minds. The mediocre mind is incapable of understanding the man who refuses to bow blindly to conventional prejudices and chooses instead to express his opinions courageously and honesty. Mother Teresa said, joy is prayer. Being joyful is a prayer. Playing with your animals, cooking, make everything you do a joy. So many people, they could spoil a fun dream, they could like take the, anyway, we're not going to go there. So make it on this new moon coming up. We'll talk more about that at this time. I'll start you off. I'll start your orange for you. Live and let live. I want to manifest. I'm manifesting myself a better job. I am and I have. I'm manifesting for myself I want to be financially solvent. I want to have all these bills paid. I am paying. Don't see, I just said want. I thank you. Everybody's grateful at a banquet, but affirm what you want. Okay, I've done this, been there. I'm ready to move on to another relationship. I deserve more than this. So we're listen to my favorite astrologer, Pam Gregory, and actually the one who wrote about the Cortez said a few months ago when Uranus entered Taurus, get into the rhythm. And we had the new moon in Taurus along with Uranus and Taurus, and it started what's going to last for 7 years and get grounded. And she said it would be symbolic to plant something. I talked about being in Golden Gate Park, and I saw a cactus a couple of years old, and it was a baby cactus. And I said, that's going to be, it's a freshly but no, I had to grow an avocado tree. It's around this big now. I planted an avocado seed, and I get a lot of light. And one cannabis plant, it's like this, and then my avocado. I'll have to find a yard for it eventually. So now I got to manifest a yard. Oh God! But it's wonderful to see it. It's just like it's like a little nursery. It's so beautiful. Just really, I can't say it. It's all about your Mars. Find out where your Mars is and be true to it. And enjoy this Leo energy. All comes on come August. The Sun enters Leo on the 22nd, Monday the 22nd of July. And then at the very last day of July, we get a chance to really connect with all that Leo love energy. And really, people, I said to someone the other day, if you're dealing with any kind of a viral count thing, whether it's Hep C or any kind of a virus from it could be even a lot of people aren't even sexually active. If you had chickenpox, you got this herpes virus running around you, and then when you get aggravated, I guess and it doesn't happen to me, not God, but this woman was telling me, and then I said. The doctor, she said she was really upset about this herpes thing. And I have a lot of women that are much older. My aunt, bless her soul, was really upset when she didn't want to believe because she was from old school and, like the 30s. So she didn't, herpes was you got it one way you got herpes. She didn't understand. It's just, so if you're dealing with a virus, you're dealing with a very critical person, and the less critical you are, the virus won't feed it. And I said, well, I said, she goes, well, I'm not critical with anyone except myself. And then a light bulb, I had a eureka moment, and I said, exactly, you're right. So many people criticize themselves. Like I said in many of my shows, I don't need anybody making me feel shitty about myself. I could do that all by myself if I wanted to. I do not choose to want to. That's why I love that song, that old song, Up on the Roof. All you have to do is wish to make it so. Just move, tap your crown chakra, climb up to the roof where the air is clear and beautiful. Without that feeling of love and without the faith and conviction that life in us is unobstructed, all the healing techniques of science are of little avail. So keep, like the other day, I mentioned to a friend of mine something, just lost her husband. No, didn't lose him, he died. Well, I guess he's in a good place now anyway. Better that, he was headed for trouble. He wasn't healthy, so, anyway, and I something about her health, and she just said something about, and she's pretty, and I said, stop saying that. I think so many people have been convincing themselves they've got this whatever for so long. Like like Louise says something here about hopeless cases. And I'm like the queen of hopeless cases. That's why my best success is with people. I always say to them, people will get somewhere with me. The first thing I tell them is, like, let's be grateful for this. Victims don't heal. That's your basic Bernie Siegel, Louise Hay, Science of Mind, whatever you want to call it. But it literally is all in your mind. Incurable. So many people have incurable things, situations or things. And it says, cannot be cured by outer means at this point. That's the thought pattern that created the effect, cause and effect. We must go within to effect the cure. It came from nowhere and goes back to the nowhere. Donald Trump, you came from nowhere and you go back to the nowhere from whence you sprang. And take your swamp monsters with you. Miracles. What do they say? You don't have to go, but you can't stay here. You don't. Yeah. That's it. Miracles happen every day. I go within to dissolve the pattern that created this, and I now accept a divine healing. And so it is. Oh, and so it is. Every time I pass City Hall, we got the most corrupt City Hall. Oh, don't get me started. But I live in the Civic Center area, and I'm always going to the library, and I'm always bless that City Hall, And I say, may the city go back to its when it had a soul. And not just it started with Gary there. Okay, so so in September, not September, but next month, we will see when Jupiter goes direct, all this information, legal stuff, and that's the Mueller, the obtuse Mueller, who he either is so old, he's not a dotard, but he's just, sometimes old people just get obtuse. They're so old school, like, I told you to read it. Yeah, he's a Virgo. Virgos can be kind of prickly. No, you thought I was going to say something else, didn't you? They could be a little prickly. Remember, live and let live, What does it bother you? So many times people will tell me, this one guy I don't talk to anymore, but I was a neighbor. And then I realized I can't be friends with this guy. Every time we passed some place, he'd say, now these people are on welfare. They shouldn't have that car. I go, well, what is it? What is that skin off your butt? What's that got to do with you, If it's the ill-gotten gains, they'll pay the karma there. What, you got a God complex, So let me see now about what my collective. We only have less than 10 minutes now, but I'm gonna do my 9-card spread and see what I'm getting now. I'll get into my non-local space. Remember, new moons press the reset button, and what do my collective audience watching this want to know right now? That's what you are. What's surrounding us. Where we're coming from, what we're hoping for, the work we must do, the results and the outcome. And why not go with that one? Yeah, because the last time I was here, I got pay attention to your dreams. Yeah, don't just waste the night going to sleep and this God take me away thing. As long as you're surrounded by the love and light of the Holy Spirit, and your Christ consciousness there. Every little kind thing you do is Christ consciousness thing, that loving thing. Okay, we got a lot of work to do now. Yeah, this is all about before enlightenment, chop wood, carry water. We've all seen now what scapegoating is. And there's the high priestess again. She was here last time. If you watched the show I did a few weeks ago, last month, it was the last show I did. And besides, this will be my only show this month. And then I'll be back here Thursday, the 1st of August. So tune in at 5 if you want to see me live. Yeah, she has secrets for you, and so those of you who are watching, don't stop now. Oh yeah, because this eclipse now wasn't just a one eclipse. No, it's affecting the entire 6 months to come. Yeah, at least. And for the next 5 years, as we approach, and Pluto goes back and forth over our Pluto, it gets closed. The conjunction starts at 8 degrees. So yes, what it took us, this whole the male energy, power. Nobody gives up power easily. Where we're coming from now, I think where we're going, we're already there. I think the main, if anything, we all know now. I'm not putting down our press, but they're slow. SLOOOW, slow. No shit, Sherlock. Everybody from New York knew he was a god. But then again, my trip in '96 to New York, I never heard the N word more. And I just at one part, I remember crying. Guess my aunt, I blamed it on because my aunt was old and senile, and I knew the last time I'd see her. But I think I collectively was picking up I hadn't seen these people for 30 years. And like Muhammad Ali said, if you're still thinking at 50 the way you thought at 20, you wasted 30 years of your life. So here are these people I grew up with. Yeah, it was hell because I was gay and I pretended to be straight to survive. But, you know, we shared things. You know, we shared families, and it was a hard pill to swallow, so to speak, to realize that they're racist. They're racist people, and they hate gays. You know, so there's no love lost there. They loved who I pretended to be before I came out. Yeah, I had a tough time coming out when I lived in New York. Part of the reason to move to San Francisco was I could come out. I could finally be gay. Yeah, I was always being a bisexual. You know, the LGBT thing. The B part doesn't get enough. I think it's really rough. I used to be, and I'm sure it's no picnic now. You know, being bisexual because you're attracted to everything. So men and women, you know, and women didn't like the fact back then that they used to say Frank's closet has revolving doors. You know, it's sort of like the inside joke on a lot of people's. But then, as I said, I love who I am now. And I believe I'm totally homosexual now. I don't have any attraction to female. I mean, I love pretty things, but there's no, you know. I'm realizing my well, morphic resonance. That's what Sheldrake is all about. Read Sheldrake. I tell you, this book's been out since 2012. I think when it came out, he was thrown off TED. He has a list of where science went wrong, and everything they're doing is on assumptions. And now they have these billionaires that can make heaven on earth with this money, and what they're doing now is they're blowing billions and millions of dollars. With all this money, we could create jobs, environmentally safe, you know, environmentally friendly jobs in all these countries in Central America. Train all these people, invest that they'd want to stay. Who doesn't want to stay in their own? I miss America. It's only been 2.5 years now, but it wasn't perfect. But you know, it's land that I love. Anyway, so yeah, we're never going to be the same now. That's why it's important not to eat the menu instead of the meal. If we didn't have Donald Trump and all these nasty, nasty people, and I'm not saying that to make myself look any better, but you know, it was like Miracle Grow for his character defects when he got the power. And so the work to be done now is make friends. It's. I know it's going to be tough for me too, you know, because it's sort of like the body snatchers. You know, you think you know someone, and then when they say start quoting Fox News. I haven't had that happen that happened like a couple of years ago, and it's like yesterday. You know, and I haven't seen that guy anymore since then. He was a neighbor of mine. Yeah, the final outcome here is debauchery. We got full-blown debauchery going on. We're in the Pluto deconstruction part. So what's going on now with the South Node, the karma in the karma? It's a law. It's not an idea. It's a law. Okay, bye. I love you. See you on the 1st.